How could you work in an organization like that? How can you believe in the leadership if all they do is give you lip service and apathy?
Hi, my name's Devin. Today I own several multi-million-dollar companies. We started with $5,000 in a credit card. I don't know the easy way. I only know the hard way.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. And I want to talk about two things today that will absolutely destroy your reputation as a leader at your organization. And that is lip service and apathy. I want to tell a story first because this is fresh. It just happened within the last probably 3 days. I'd mentioned before that I'm kind of working in one of my old companies. I'm taking over. I'm working with some really amazing people, a great organization, great people. But we just haven't been succeeding. So, I jumped in, rolled up my sleeves, got in and started working with people. Unfortunately, through a series of events and meetings and people actually expressing openly what's going on, we found out that one of the departments is grossly understaffed. They're way overworked. There's no they're not getting thanked. They're just, we're cracking the whip and asking more out of them. And honestly, this is core to what we do. And so we kind of had an all hands on meeting, and I sat in the back and I let the team lead the meeting, and everyone was pretty open. I could tell that they had some reservations. I could tell that there was some eye rolling where they're like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm going to tell you this, and then you're going to be mad. Nothing's going to happen. But I just sat back and I listened, and I took notes, and my leaders took notes. And sure enough, people got more and more comfortable, and they started explaining things that were going on. They started explaining deficiencies, and I started hearing things like, yeah, I've told everyone before this, but no one ever did anything about it. And I started hearing things like, oh, yeah, well, we know, management knows about this. And I've heard things like, oh, well, it's in the report every day. And I started hearing these things where it's like, these are not new issues. This wasn't something that just all of a sudden came up overnight, but I realized the severity of it and how like broken these people were, and how, they were just beaten down. They thought they could never win, and they didn't think anybody cared about them. So, my team ran the meeting. I sat in the back and I just listened and I took notes. And at the end, I had a chance to say something, and I addressed everybody in the room and I said, listen, I don't have a magic wand. I said, I want to be very honest with everybody here. But I am here to implement change. I have taken very diligent notes on everything that you said, and I do absolutely care. And I said, and I will instill change as quickly as we can. I won't make any promises, but we will communicate back with you what changes happened, and we're going to invite feedback. You can give me bad news. You can tell me things you don't like. You can tell us how to improve. You can tell us we made a bad decision. That's okay. You can give it all. You can give us feedback back, but we will do these things for you, and we will communicate with you, and we will instill change. And there was this kind of like, very insincere clap, right? Which is fine. All right. Listen, I didn't sign up to be, the most popular person in the world. And there was definitely a lot of eye rolling, like, oh yeah, we've heard this all before. And so I was like, okay, great. Walked out immediately. 10 minutes later, I'm on the phone. I'm dealing with people outside the organization. I'm trying to find some solutions. We had 3 subsequent meetings back to back to back, all about this particular issue. And within 36 hours, we are implementing change. And so I got all of my leaders back together and said, okay, leaders, now you guys are going to go back and you're going to be the heroes to these folks. And you're going to go back and you're going to tell them what we did, what we can do, what we're going to do, and what we can't do, right? And you're going to give them very transparent feedback. You're going to let them know that we care. You're going to let them know that these are the things that we're doing today. These are the things we're doing tomorrow, next week, next month, and the items that are open that we don't have a solution for. But you are going to be the heroes. You're going to go back to the people and you're going to communicate to that to them. And all of a sudden, I saw a couple of my managers actually get emotional. And one of them had tears in her eyes. And she's like, Devin, I can't tell you how much that means to us. And I was like, I was touched. I thought that was really awesome that that everyone cares that much. But I immediately understood that everybody in the organization had been getting lip service and apathy. Either A, they were just saying, yeah, we're going to do this, and nobody did a darn thing. Or B, nobody even cared. Nobody was asking. They just looked at reports, or maybe they didn't even look at reports. They just didn't care. And there were emails that would go out from the high tower, and that's all that would ever happen. And of course, how could you work in an organization like that? How can you believe in the leadership if all they do is give you lip service and apathy? But we find ourselves as leaders doing that. Or we think, well, I tried, and therefore, I guess I didn't fail, so I guess I'll just ignore and go on to the next problem. In this situation, the story I just talked about, there were things we could do today. There were things we could do tomorrow, things we could do next month, but there were still open items. We can't just shut our mouth if all of a sudden we can't solve problems. If you go and tell someone, hey, I care about your problem, they tell you about their problem, they believe that you're going to do something about that. They believe that you're not going to have apathy or that you're going to give them lip service. And sometimes they will give you something, and sometimes you're going to find out you can't do anything about it. There's nothing that you can do. Well, in that scenario, you go back to that person and you communicate with them what you tried to do, what worked and what didn't, and what you can and you cannot do. Nobody expects perfection. Nobody thinks you have a magic wand, right? But they do expect leadership and communication from their leaders. And all that it takes from us, from you as a leader, is communicating back, closing the loop on the information that they gave you, letting them know what measures you're taking, and then following through on what you said. If you do those things, people will follow you. Your organization will thrive. People will feel heard, respected. They will have a pride in what they do. If you don't, you will fail as a leader. I'm Devin. Apply these things to your life, to your business, to your leadership style today, and it will change the way you lead. I'm Devin, the Whiteboard Entrepreneur. I know it's going to help.